Go with the flow with it.
Venom. So, I'm sure you've all seen the reviews for Venom so far, which have been mixed. And I suppose that's not too surprising given Sony's previous attempt to create a superhero universe. It's not got the best reputation, but I'm here to offer my opinions, so here we go! Venom, like the comic, is the story of reporter Eddie Brock, who is portrayed by Tom Hardy. After attempting to investigate into the suspicious scientific and space exploration company called the Life Foundation, which is led by a shady businessman and all-around creepy rich corporate scientist called Carlton Drake, who's played by Riz Ahmed, an alien species crash lands on Earth. One of them bonds with Eddie, creating a Jekyll and Hyde kind of relationship and leaving him with a voice in his head and the ability to transform into a giant hulking monster from time to time. Okay, it's Venom. We all know who Venom is. And right off the bat, I don't hate this movie. In fact, I kind of enjoyed it. It was good fun. I don't understand how it can warrant such a low rating, but I suppose it's probably to do with fanbase toxicity. Comic book fandom is notoriously a very shaky ground to run across. So let's start with the good. And as mentioned, there's a lot to like about this film. Firstly, Venom himself is a brilliant character. The chemistry that Eddie Brock has with the symbiote is actually really well handled and leads to some great cinematic moments both in dialogue and in action. The idea that Eddie Brock and Venom are two separate characters and use each other's abilities in tandem really helps to give this film a new perspective and sense of identity. It's a very wacky and very comic book plot device and it ultimately benefits the film. The actual written dialogue between the two of them is also really well handled. There are some hysterical interactions between Eddie and Venom which caught me off guard completely. The film is far funnier than I was expecting, and that's a good thing. However, the same can't be said for a lot of the general dialogue. It unfortunately comes off as flat and uninspired. In fact, a lot of the performance here are let down by the writing. Whilst Tom Hardy's portrayal of Eddie Brock is at times amusing and likeable, he's also very bland. As mentioned, his interactions with the Venom symbiote are really stand out, especially when you compare it to the rest of Hardy's character interactions. And it's not to say Hardy's done a bad job here, but he's done better. Far better, in fact. And the same goes for his love interest, Annie, who's portrayed by Michelle Williams. She's just deprived of any character or likability, and she comes off as dull, and I don't think it's through any fault of her own. Now, let's talk about Riz Ahmed. Marvel villains are notoriously known to be a bit lackluster, and Carlton Drake might just sit at the top of that list for me. He isn't very menacing, he has a muted and dull personality, and his plan is as basic as a HB pencil. Even when paired up with the Riot symbiote, Drake's character doesn't change like Eddie's does. He's just the same person who occasionally has a tantrum. Carlton Drake doesn't evolve through the film, which leaves him feeling one-dimensional and flat. Again, it's a shame because Riz Ahmed has done far better. This is becoming a strangely reoccurring theme. A quick mention has to go to the Venom symbiote, who's also voiced by Tom Hardy. I know, it's amazing! It really is spot on and it works really well in balancing threat and lightheartedness. Trailers will have you believe that Venom is an anti-hero, but I never got that vibe from watching this film. He has way too many moments of heroic impulse that I think will anger comic book fans and fans of the character. I personally don't mind it and I enjoyed this interpretation of the character, but it's something to note down. The action set pieces here are mixed. They're ultimately limited by shoddy CGI. Oh god, the CGI! It is heavily used throughout the picture, which is to be expected, but it never felt cohesive and natural. The latter fight scenes in this film are very dull as a result, and the stakes feel lowered. It also doesn't help that Riot and Venom basically look identical. When you offer audiences a messy, gooey fight scene between two big symbiotic creatures, I feel there should be more of an indication as to who is who. The camera work on display here is all over the place. It's jarring, confusing, and a bit of a mess. However, earlier fight scenes show real promise. When Eddie's starting to learn of the Venom symbiote, we get a large action sequence dedicated to developing the friendship between Eddie and Venom. It plays out like Leigh Whannell's Upgrade, but far less cool. However, it's still great fun. The camera work at play here was also a lot more controlled. Whilst there's definitely some missed potential, it looked fine and I had a blast watching it. The soundtrack here also helps to elevate these fight scenes, with Black Panther composer Ludwig Göransson at the helm. These bombastic orchestral scores are matched with modern day street elements and even some metal guitar riffs, and it all sounds fantastic and I highly recommend you check it out. I didn't hate Venom. I liked Venom. I had fun with Venom. Is it a rehash of 2003's Daredevil? No. Could it have have been better? Absolutely. There is a lot of missing potential here that would have ultimately made for a much more cohesive film experience. That being said, there's some fun to be had here, and I think casual cinema goers will find enjoyment in this picture. If you enjoyed, make sure to give the video a like, and hey, maybe even give the channel a subscribe if you're feeling generous. Also, make sure to follow me on my Instagram for full written film reviews and stay up to date with all my shenanigans on social media. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Roll credits!